Have you ever heard somebody use a Bible verse and you wondered, is that really what that verse means? Today we're going to be talking about the importance of context, and we'll be looking at 5 Bible verses that are often misinterpreted and misapplied. Hi, my name is David Cipriano, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm a youth pastor who wants to teach the Bible to as many people as possible and to help others follow Jesus. And today we're going to look at 5 popular Bible verses that are often taken out of context. Now, these verses are all good verses, but many Christians don't understand them the way that they were originally intended. The first verse is Philippians 4:13, which says, "I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me." This verse is often used in reference to following your dreams, overcoming adversity, or accomplishing your goals. But when we look at the surrounding verses, that's not what this verse is about. While it is true that we can do all things through Christ, this verse is actually referring to something else. In the preceding verses, Paul says, "I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me." What Paul is saying here is that he could be content no matter what. Whether I'm living in prosperity or living in poverty, I can always be content through Christ who gives me strength. This verse isn't about being able to do anything, it's rather about contentment regardless of circumstances. The second verse is Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." People often quote this verse when going through a tough time, saying that God is thinking peaceful thoughts toward them and that God will give them an expected end. While this may be true, it's taking a message that God said to somebody else and applying it to our own situation. It would be strange if you wrote a letter to one person, but then others found it and acted like it was written to them. And yet this is what many Christians have done with this verse. When studying God's Word, remember that it was written for us, but not to us. When we take verses like this and apply them to ourselves, we end up losing out on the true meaning of these verses. Jeremiah 29:11 was written to the Israelites who were in Babylonian captivity. Even though they were being punished, God wanted them to know that He still loved them, that He would still save them, and that there would be an end to their captivity. This verse may be true about your situation, but it's not about you. The third verse is Matthew 7:1, which says, "Judge not that ye be not judged." This verse is often used to say, "Don't judge," but that's a misinterpretation because it would contradict with what Jesus says in John 7:24, "Judge righteous judgment." While it's true that we shouldn't be harsh and condemning to a world that we're trying to reach, Jesus isn't saying that you should never judge. He's saying that you shouldn't judge hypocritically. Don't judge people for the things that you do yourself. Here's what Jesus says in the following verses. "For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye?" The point here isn't that you shouldn't ever judge or criticize, but that you should examine yourself before you examine others. Don't judge hypocritically. The fourth verse is Ephesians 4:26, which says, "Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath." People usually believe that this verse is saying that you shouldn't go to bed angry, and that if you have an argument with someone, you should make peace with them before bed. This is definitely good advice, but it's not what the verse is saying. Paul isn't saying don't be angry. He's actually saying be angry. this type of anger isn't referring to having a temper tantrum. It's a righteous anger against sin, the same type of anger that Jesus displayed when he flipped the tables in the temple. When this verse says, "Let not the sun go down upon your wrath," he's not saying don't go to bed yet. He's saying don't let the day die. Don't ever stop hating sin. The fifth verse is Proverbs 22:28. "Remove not the ancient landmark which thy fathers have set." Many Christians use this verse to promote keeping the old paths and not ever changing your preferences. And it's a favorite among Christians who believe in landmarkism, where the landmarks are seen as the things that separate the church from the world. But this verse is actually just telling us to not steal. Landowners would often try to steal land by moving their fences or their landmarks a few feet over, making it appear that land was theirs when it was actually their neighbor's. So when Solomon says to not remove the ancient landmarks, he's saying that you shouldn't cheat and steal from others. So there you have it, 5 Bible verses that are often taken out of context. If you found this video helpful, consider sharing it with a friend and hit the like button if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching and subscribe for more.